If you find the content in this podcast challenging, you can head to beyondblue.org.au or lifeline.org.au. Take care of yourselves.
Hello everyone, my name's Sheridan Rose Shaw. I'm the Creative Director of Mama West and you're listening to the Good People Podcast.
It's a tip of the cap, it's a pat on the back, it's a smile from ear to ear. They're the good people from round here. Welcome back to another episode of The Good People, and I am excited about today's episode because I am joined by someone who's not just a good person.
Aww.
I think ultimately they could be a superhero. So
I've made it.
If that's So expectations now. So I would like to welcome Sheridan Rose Shaw. You are the creative director at Mama West. And before we get into it, we've got quite a few things to cover here because the list I have in front of me is quite long. And so I think strap yourselves in, people, because it's going to be a bit of fun. So welcome, Sheridan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andy.
When we decided to create a podcast, you were literally one of the first people I thought of because I really wanted to chat to people who not only are good people doing good things, but you've also got a great story. So why don't we just jump right in? Mama West. When did you start that? 2021?
It'll be 2 years February this year.
Yeah.
So 2021.
And for those who don't know what Mama West is best you describe it because I'll get it wrong.
Yes. So Mama West is a creative co-working hair salon in West Footscray, Maidstone.
Yep.
And we are the home to a couple less than last year. I think we've got 3 individual women-led business now. We were 4. We were 6 at one stage,
Wow.
but we have slowly but surely found our people that we definitely work well together.
Yep.
And I have a team of 7.
A team of 7.
Yes.
And so the idea of the business is you have multiple women-led business within the one building.
Yes.
And those businesses work together.
Yeah, we're all separate, but we collaborate and we do a lot together. We've got like-minded values and clientele as well. So we've got a nail lady, we've got an eyebrow and eyelash lady, and we've now got myself. So it all works, swimmingly.
Yeah, and so you're a hairdresser, ultimately, nearly 20 years?
16.
16
It'll be
years?
17 at the end of this year.
Wow.
So we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, and
Wow.
But you have another way of describing yourself, which is not as a hairdresser, and it's along the lines of colorist, specialist colorist. How did you describe what you do with people's hair to get such vibrant?
Oh, yes. We are vivid colour specialists, firstly and foremost, and we are curly haired specialists. There's really not a damn thing that we don't do at Mama West. So we are a premium hair salon in the midst of West Footscray, and I decided to create a premium space because I didn't feel like there was too many on this side of town. I always felt like you had to go to Fitzroy or to Paran or something to get a good colour and cut, or to the city. So I decided I'm actually going to create the trend on this side of town, because this side of town was travelling to that side of town anyway. And I honestly think because I saw the gap, that is one of the reasons why we've been incredibly successful in a very small time.
Working very well for you,
very
obviously.
well. Yes.
Now's the bit where I'm just going to attempt to get through all your awards.
Yes.
But rewinding before I do that, do you remember we were on the phone one night and you were trying to make a decision about whether or not you should go for the I can't remember the name of it, but the Emerging Business Award for the Maribyrnong City Council, and you were torn because you thought, I've only got one shot at this. I've only got one shot at the emerging business. And we were chatting. I was like, just go for it.
Yeah.
Go for the big one.
Yeah,
Do you remember that?
I remember.
And then what happened?
I got the big one.
Yeah.
You were like, and you were so conservative about it too. You're like, look, there's a lot of people that are into the awards. Like, don't get your hopes up, which was really helpful because when we did win, I was like,
over the moon.
I was crying. Yeah. I was like, what? Andy said it was so hard to get this. I'm like, oh my God, here I am standing up here in front of my community, which is my passion. So
yeah, well, you're a very community driven person.
Very. Yeah.
So Kevin Murphy Global Icon Award finalist.
Yes.
Oz Hair Fashion Award Digital Influencer of the Year finalist. Oz Hair Industry Awards New Creative Talent and Hot Shots finalist. Oz Hair Fashion Awards Fame Team finalist. Maribyrnong City Council Most Innovative Business of the Year 2022, which is the one we just mentioned. Oz Industry Awards Australian Salon Newcomer of the Year. Have we missed anything?
I can't believe you didn't stuff any of that up.
No.
You nailed them all.
Yeah, I practiced all my words.
Yeah.
Now, the one that actually, because you actually got, here's one that I really love. Your hair has no gender. That was something I really love, and I've actually got it open on my page here.
Oh my goodness.
But if you get online, you can have a look on mamawest.com.au and you can see the hair has no gender. These are amazing images.
Thank you.
And I think you couldn't have captured it any better. What was the impetus, I guess, behind creating the hair has no gender?
Yeah, so I'm not someone that does things for no reason. I think I've got a story, right? It's like my story is a huge part of who I am. And I think the story behind the collection was that we are moving into a new age world and pronouns have really been discovered over the last couple of years. And there's a conversation. So really, as a salon owner, I am someone that holds space for individuals, and we are we're all individuals at Mama West, and we come from a range of age, sex, gender. So there's lots of diversity. So I think I just wanted to not only, it was a little bit challenging because I haven't come from that particular background, but I did want to acknowledge it, and I wanted to do everything in my power.
Do you mean like exposure? Your background you weren't exposed to gender diversity? Is that what you're saying?
Not so much that I wasn't exposed to, but I'm like a white cis female, like I haven't had issues in like, in expressing who I am.
Yep.
I have in some ways, like I've come from I guess, I've got stigma attached to my story. Yep. So I could have compassion and empathy and understanding for where I've come from and how like we can relate to each other in some different ways.
Well, what I'm looking at here is I'm seeing a great expression of colour.
Yes.
Which you're saying, I feel like what you're trying to get across is it doesn't matter, like hair is just hair.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how you cut it, style it, whatever.
Yes.
You wear your hair the way you want to wear your hair.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's always I think this topic I always found really hard to talk about, which is why I wanted a collection that was the conversation, because I'm still learning and I'm still growing. So I wanted all of my models to identify as a them, they, or be transgendered, or so just showcasing my models in the fashion industry that were all at Fashion Week the week before and giving them the platform and them really telling the story and me just creating the hair that would make them feel and look really good. So it's always, it was a really beautiful experience and having a story, it took the focus off winning because it was my first ever collection. I'd never done a collection like that before. And I was swimming in unknown territory in lots of ways, in a story that, I was learning about and growing about. And in shooting, I'd never shot a collection in any way, but we did finalize. So that was just kind of the secondary gift to being able to use my platform and showcase a really special
I think it's great.
Story.
It looks really good. And the photographer here, which I can't remember their name, but
Jason Lau
done a very, very good job. Was that shot in your at
It looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah. But it was actually shot at his studio. Uh-huh. Yeah. So he's in Melbourne-based photography, and he specializes in fashion.
Okay.
So it was it was nice to work with him. He had an eye. He was able to mentor me a little bit through the experience. He has shot award-winning collections that have won and also finalized. So yeah, it was a brilliant day, and it was a brilliant experience. And I guess through shooting that collection, it really highlighted a lot of my negative self-beliefs and the way that I thought about myself. And I really was able to learn through that first shooting that it is a journey and not a destination, and especially not winning. Like, I have really had to think, what did I get out of this experience? And even just to finalize and have my name. Be recognised for being one of the best in Australia. Yep. Like, that bigger picture stuff, and really, bulldozing through any negative way that I felt about myself, and seeing that I actually do have what it takes.
Yeah.
Even though my mind still
try and tell you otherwise.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you've come a long way in a very short
time.
Space of time.
Yes.
And I remember at one point I was talking to you, and I thought maybe it was in the same phone call, and I said, "Do you qualify for the new business?" And you were like, "Yeah, we're under a year old." I was convinced that you'd been around longer, and I feel like it was just maybe I'd seen so much of you and what you were doing. And yeah. So that's great. Like you were still within the ability to get that newcomer in the first year, but you'd actually, you'd only been operating for a very short amount of time.
Totally.
So we must have originally met when you were very new.
It was the very early stages that I met you. I reckon the first couple of months.
Yeah. Which is unreal.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to witness it early, because I'm convinced that you're going to be a smash.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I was there at the ground level.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of awards and recognition and some great work. And they say that in life, the only way you can get to where you are now is to take the exact path that you've taken in the past. So you can't get to where you are without going through the good times and the bad times.
Yeah.
You've had your fair share of bad times.
Yes.
Yeah.
I finally feel like the good times are starting to outweigh those bad times now. So, I guess I've been clean for almost 10 years from drugs and alcohol. Thank you very much. It's pretty special. I just celebrated my 10-year milestone in September, just passed. So there's something really profound about being 10 years clean and also being 30 years old, because it really means that I've spent most of my adult years learning and growing and getting to know myself. And I think most of society will write off those years, partying, exploring, having fun. And I feel like I really fast-tracked that in my earlier years. And it was just from zero to hero from the first drink that I ever had. And I was like a gutter drunk. Like I would be in the gutter from the first from my first bottle of alcohol. I drank the whole thing. Like that's just who I am. It's what I do. I'm all or nothing. And I also kind of think that that's a huge part of why I'm so successful today, because I'm devoting all of that energy into something really positive and making impact and making a difference in the community and advocating for change. It's something that's really close to my heart. So
and potentially that energy, I mean, can be used as your superpower, right?
Yes.
Because in the same way that I guess addiction can drag you in one direction, if you can use it in your favor, it can be very powerful. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it really has been. I have like this. I've got a button. I've got this button that's like, just if I put my mind to something, and it can be like, it can go the other way, because there can be an arrogance and an ego. That is also attached to that I'm kind of learning about now that I've had all of this success, because everything I have put everything into, I have kind of received. It's happened. It's manifested. It's grown. So there's almost an expectation
that everything will work out unreal.
Totally, which didn't come overnight. This has been years and years and years of kind of trudging through the mud and really realizing and understanding why I drank and why I used, because I was in a bucket load of pain that I didn't know how to acknowledge or manage. So the way that I did that was squish that and push that aside, because I truly believed that you are meant to feel good all the time. And I now know, or I have come to accept, that is not a healthy way of life. Yep. Like, we all have ups, we all have downs. Yep. It's just human nature. Yep. But I always wanted to feel good. I always wanted to be up, and I would be the last one standing because I just didn't want to shut my eyes. I just wanted to keep going. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to just keep going to the bitter end. So a pretty intense period for you. I mean, you've converted that energy into now Mama West, yes,
amongst other things. When we were chatting the other day, we were talking about different addictions as well. It's not just like alcohol or drugs, and they're the sort of the ones that are in people's faces.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of addiction.
There sure is.
Like, if I was honest with myself, I'm 100% addicted to coffee.
Yes. Oh.
100%. But I was thinking about this, and I thought, why is it that we don't speak about that in the same way? What is it? Because we enjoy the cup of coffee and because so many of us have it. You know, it's the fourth largest traded commodity in the world.
Yes.
So we sort of want to deny that it's got such a grip on us, right? But why do we talk about that differently to other substance abuse at the end of the day? Like, why is that?
Well, coffee is a mind-altering substance. It is a mind or mood-altering substance. So depending on how far you want to take your sobriety, like, some people don't even drink lemon, lime and bitters because there's a tiny amount of alcohol in bitters. Whereas coffee for me, and I've gone through stages of my life where I have cut out coffee out of my life and out of my recovery, and it's pretty miserable, you know, because I am 100% addicted to coffee, though I have one a day,
right?
Which is pretty unbelievable
restrained
for me, because I used to drink 4 or 5, but I've made it a bit of a ritual, and I'm very specific on when I drink my coffee as well, and the timing of it. And I just think there's very little that I have to enjoy in my life these days, and if coffee is definitely going to be one of them. But the reason is, I think, because it's socially acceptable. To drink coffee on a daily basis.
Absolutely. At any time of the day.
Yes.
Mostly, most people have a grip on it.
Yes.
They can, you hear a lot of people talk, I don't have coffee after lunch, or I don't.
Yeah. You're not robbing houses to get a coffee.
Well,
maybe
in the near future.
Yeah.
With the increase of cost of everything.
Whether if coffee was $12, whether I'd actually pay for it. I reckon I would. Like, I would pay $15 to get coffees delivered during lockdown when we had, periods of isolation.
Yes.
$15, $20 to get 2 coffees delivered. And I was totally A-okay with that.
There was many people okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're paying exorbitant amounts.
Totally.
But it's that little pleasure you've got.
Right?
Yeah.
A little pleasure and a ritual. Like, it's just something, I just think it's, no matter how bad my day is, the next day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go back into having another coffee and give it another crack.
So you were telling me about other things outside of, I guess the heavier ones, drugs and alcohol. What other things do you reckon you've been addicted to?
Yes.
What would they be?
Well, I can honestly say that my addiction began with any kind of pleasure. Anything that gave me pleasure, I became addicted to.
Yeah.
And it started with computers. So I was heavily addicted to computers.
Like playing games, or?
I guess I would say probably more. Gaming when I was very young. It's all coming back to me. And then it was like social media, MySpace, creating websites, Tumblr, blogging, like just an outlet. I would spend hours on them on the computers, just having
just
some kind of
scrolling.
creative outlet. Yeah, not so much. I was a creator. Like, I loved making websites, learning the codes, and creating in Adobe Photoshop and doing all this weird stuff, because my dad was also like computers everywhere, a bit like your studio actually looks very similar, music equipment. So I was exposed to it, laptops were available. And then fake tan. I was addicted to fake tan, and I still absolutely identify as a tanorexic, which is a whole nother thing.
So what is that? Just getting spray tans every Wednesday? Like, what do we...
Well, that or going to the solariums every second day. There's things out there called Milano tan, and it's like tanning injections. I've been down that rabbit hole too.
Tanning injections?
Yeah, it's a thing. It's just because how good do you feel with a tan?
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's like, and then we go into food. Once I put drugs and alcohol down, I weighed 52 kilos when I got into my recovery. And then I weighed myself 6 months later and I was 58 kilos. And that's probably a healthy weight.
Yep.
But I was so attached to that number of being 52 and unhealthy and no fat on my bones because of, the type of drugs that I was using.
Yep.
So that triggered something profound in me, and then it went into binge eating and learning how to manage food, and then that's really how I understood, because I got clean at 20 years old. A lot of people would be like, I probably use more drugs than she spilt, or whatever that saying is, like what would she know about addiction? But I've really been able to see my addictive nature, not just how I got here, which was pretty rock bottom for me, but in my recovery. So food and then exercise, before I...
Addicted to exercise.
Yes. It was the thing that made me feel really good, and I could just do it for 3 hours a day and feel totally okay, and I'd get abs and I'd feel and I'd look good. So...
And you'd get compliments.
And compliments, yes. Yeah.
And people reinforcing that you're doing the right thing.
You're so strong.
Yeah.
Look at your abs. Look at your... And I still get it to this day. I feel like because I was so attached to that imagery. But when I was training 3 hours a day and I was looking the best I've ever looked, I felt probably the most anxious and I still hated myself on the inside. So, that was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So it says a lot about it's not nothing to do necessarily often with the substance. It's more about the dopamine hit.
Totally.
It's about feeling good.
Yes.
And depending on what you choose to do it. G'day, it's Andy here from In Other Good News, and I hope you're enjoying today's episode of the Good People podcast. Do you know back in 2020 we created Grindhog Day, our very own line of coffee beans that supports the amazing charity Food Bank. Every single purchase of Grindhog Day coffee puts food on the table for vulnerable Australians. But we knew that we couldn't just create any old coffee. We had to create something that would rival the best that is out there. So we've got a blend from Colombia, Brazil and Papua New Guinea, and it's something that I think is purely magical. But you don't have to take my word for it. Why don't we ask these couple of geezers?
How's your coffee, Sonny? Delicious. I can really taste the premium beans. Such a generous aftertaste. Are you old enough to drink coffee? I have a moustache, don't I?
Since we launched Grindhog Day Coffee back in 2020, we have created over 35,000 meals through the food bank system. So if you want to do something good just by drinking good coffee, head to iogn.com.au and order yours today. We've got free and fast delivery for those who live in the inner western Melbourne, plus we ship Australia-wide. And if you love it, we've got a subscription, so your coffee will turn up on time, every time, and you'll never run out. Amazing. Head to iogn.com.au and order yours today. Now, let's get back to the episode. Now, I was also telling you about my other heavy addiction.
Yes, so heavy.
I haven't been into any form of rehab for, but...
Not yet.
Fingernail biting. And it's the only thing I can really relate because I know how hard it is to stop, even though I know it's ridiculous. Yes. And I was thinking about this. When you think about it logically, addiction is kind of ridiculous. Like, you know that it's not good for you, but you can't stop. And so, like, we were also talking about how your life now is really full. And you notice that helps to not scratch the itch, but, like, it helps you to stay on track of things because you're so full. You don't have time to sit down and hook into anything else.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely been my experience over time. It's like, now that I have launched Mama West, and workaholism, that could also be a form of addiction, and I think is a lot of people's addictions. Like, my dad is an absolute workaholic, 100%, and I have gotten a lot of my
ethics,
and entrepreneurial from him. Like, it's just, and I think only now in his later years he's starting to look back and see, look back on his life and see the impacts that does. And because I've come from that, I'm aware and I don't want to create the same mistakes that he may have with me, with my son. So it's like trying to create some kind of work-life balance, and it's there's always something to work on, and I think it comes back to that. It's a journey, not a destination. Because I think when the first couple of years that I got clean, like, I was doing a lot of work on myself, and I'd be expecting to be fixed, but then another thing would pop up, and I'd be like, oh, it's just never ending. And it's like that's like doomsday, right?
We're going, hold on. Now I'm addicted to exercise.
Denial is very good. It's a great protective mechanism. I think if it all popped up at once, I don't think I'd still be clean today. Like, it's had to gradually pop up over time, and then I'd have to have the willingness to let it go, and because they are survival mechanisms. And sometimes, if I'm not gonna, if I'm smoking, I'm not using a drug, right? It's like, what's better than the rest? But I have been able to let go of smoking, and I gave up vaping last year, which was really big. I picked that up during COVID, and I honestly think that was the thing that kept me afloat during that time, because how many people started drinking more during COVID?
Yeah, I think a lot.
And they were really honest about it too.
Yeah. When you had nothing else to do, you're stuck between the four walls of the house, and I can't imagine, can you imagine what it would be like for those poor people, especially with kids, stuck in high rises or something where they had nowhere to go. Nowhere to go.
It's just so weird that we even went through that. I'm still like, just to talk about it, I'm just like, wow, we really went through that, didn't we?
It's bizarre, isn't it? And our children, it's part of their childhood now, which is, we've experienced before. You see pictures of rock concerts with 100,000 people in one spot, and there's something, you get a little eye twitch, and you go, wow, that was a thing that's going to take a little while to get back to. I think we're slowly getting back to some of those things, but children at the moment are growing up in an environment that is so tumultuous, I relate it something similar to like wartime in another place or something, like, it's so extreme. Some of these things are so extreme, but they're going to be life-changing sort of things,
events.
So you sort of hope that a lot of these kids haven't sort of gone down a slippery slope of screen addictions and stuff. You talked about that before. Facebook, Instagram, all these social media platforms, 100% built to drag you in. Yeah. And you can't beat the algorithm. It's impossible. You can't beat it.
Yeah, you can't. Though, I have a bit of a theory about that.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. You can't beat it. So you've got to create it. It's like we're all on it. And if you're not participating or creating on Instagram, then you are probably
soaking it up.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm a creator. Yeah. I'm going on there for a purpose. I have a business and I want to share. That's my journey. And it's like, if I feel inspired to share something that's got, a message that I've gone through that day or a learning or a teaching, like that's what I use social media for, is to share and to showcase my business and my team and my family and who I am. So I am always using it. It uses me a lot of the time too, but it's like, I reckon probably a 70-30 negotiation.
You're being the boss.
Yeah.
You're being the boss of your socials.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear, because it literally, if you're just absorbing, it never ends.
Yeah, it never ends. You could just keep scrolling.
It has no end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just another one of the modern vices. But again, it's great to reaffirm that the technology itself isn't the problem.
Yeah, it's definitely something much deeper in me and my brain. I'm not, I look at it like it's an allergic reaction to something. Like if I have one, all bets are off. I can't stop. Like it's just like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like I just can't stop. And it's kind of like, it's now that I'm not in the cycle of addiction with really too many areas of my life. I can honestly say that I've healthily detached from a lot of people, places and things and looked outside of myself for pleasure. Like now I've found a way to go inside and to sit with whatever it is that I might be trying to, because really I'm trying to seek comfort. So what's going on? I'm feeling uncomfortable. Why am I feeling uncomfortable? So starting to go inside and ask those questions and just channel in and have some awareness and accept whatever it's going on. So it's a meditative practice, going inside instead of going outside to make myself feel better. And 9 times out of 10, when I can do that, it passes. And then it's kind of like, oh, is that it? Yeah. Wasn't that bad, but it's again, it feels excruciating because feelings for me
are big.
Huge.
Yep.
I want to die. I would rather use every single day than feel. Like, work that out.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah,
it's profound.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I want to know though, what do you have on the horizon? What are you thinking about for you in the future? Where do you want to go?
It's the $1 million question. I reckon that's the one everyone always asks me. And I think now that Mama West has been alive for 2 years, I really need to figure that out, right? Because it's a bit like social media. If I don't know where I'm going, the world will just take me and eat me up. Yep. So I know I am someone that loves to expand. Yep. So I have about a 2-year threshold where I get really bored. Yep. And I need shift, I need expansion, I need to continue to keep growing. Because I just think that's what life is for. That's what I'm built for. So I see for Mama West, well, at the moment I'm going through a bit of another process, a bit like I was talking about in the beginning of the podcast with the shooting my first ever collection. I'm entering Fame Team and I'm halfway there because I'm one of 15 in Australia to have been a finalist.
Okay, what's Fame Team?
Fame Team is the Australian Hair Fashion Awards youth program, under 35s. Yep. They mentor you for a year. So some of the best hairdressers in Australia in the world spend that year mentoring you basically on how to shoot photographic collections. So you get this opportunity with 4 other people in Australia to go through this experience where they fly you to LA, they fly you to London, and you get to educate and do all the things that I am really attracted to at the moment. Yep. So that's in February. Okay. And I'm planning. So that's in I think it's 5 weeks. So there's some skills that I feel not as confident in. So I'm kind of working on those skills so that I can feel 120% confident for the day. Yep. Because it's a bit like MasterChef for hairdressers, right? You don't know what's happening, but you get given the brief and you've got to perform. And there's the stress of being against the best in Australia and, it's like measuring and comparing and all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of been my process and I've honed in on this. It's like I feel like it's my one shot this year because I don't have any focus anywhere else but here. It's like I am going all in. Yes.
So do you have to win that to continue on? Is that how it works?
Yeah. So there's 15 of us.
Yes.
And then from that audition day, there'll be 4 of us that are chosen for the Fame team. And that's basically a whole year accountable for because you're going on that journey. So I guess the journey would be, I've got to wait till Feb to kind of figure it out. And that's really scary to me.
Yep.
You know,
Waiting.
Well, not necessarily waiting, but I'm all in.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
and I don't really have my eggs in any other baskets because I'm like, this is what I really, really, really want. So
Stakes are high.
Stakes are high.
Yes.
Though there are some other things in the background, and you know me. I think I'll find something pretty quickly if that one doesn't work out for me. And in the meantime, like I have actually just been enjoying the journey. So I've been doing some hair cutting workshops, hair up workshops. One of my stylists has been mentoring me with some hair cutting because she's an advanced cutting specialist. So I've been going in on my days off and learning how to cut hair and just like falling in love with my craft all over again. And I'm an all-rounded hairdresser, but she's a whole nother level of a hair cutter. And I want to look and I want to feel like she does when she cuts. It's like, it's the most beautiful thing to watch. So, you know, I'm the boss, but she's my mentor, you know, and I really like that I'm able to create a space where I'm vulnerable enough to be able to ask my team for help. And it really creates a beautiful flow and atmosphere at Mama West because we're all just learning from each other and I'm just holding the space for everyone.
Yeah. And they do say that because it is such a welcoming, like it's such a beautiful space in there when you walk in, like everyone's very welcoming. You've got diversity, you've got colour, you've got it's just really a nice space to be in. And they say, you know, you are a product of the 5 people that you hang out with the most.
Yeah, I truly believe that.
So it's a pretty healthy environment for you to be in, to grow in and all that sort of thing. It's a very positive space.
Yes.
So I think even just being there is good, right? Like even just hanging out in that space all day will allow you to come up with the new ideas and to move forward rather than cling on to the past. Because something else we were talking about is the statistics around keeping clean.
Yes, they are some...
And they're not great, are they?
They ain't great. So when I was in rehab, because I went through a mental health psych ward for youth, and then I figured out I didn't belong in there. So I went to rehab. I somehow got there. And in rehab, they said 1 of 10 people will stay clean.
It's crazy.
So who's it going to be? And I was like, well, it's going to be me, you know? And it's the truth. Like I had a boyfriend in there that I got with 6 months clean and he's died of a heroin overdose when I was 2 years clean. Like, you know, all of my peers, like I can't think of anyone in that rehab that has stayed clean other than me. So but it takes a lot of work. Like it takes some deep diving work to really want to understand why did I have to get to the bottom of the barrel? Why do I feel so low about myself? Like who am I? Who am I without this lifestyle? And especially at 20 years old, like it's how depressing being in rehab and celebrating your 21st birthday at the, you know, RSL and not being able to drink any alcohol. Like that actually, it was a depressing idea to me, but I'm so glad that I was able to sit with that discomfort of not living the best 21st birthday that I would have, you know, dreamt for myself. But 10 years later, look where I am, you know, I've been able to buy a house. I've got a beautiful family. I've got all this, you know, internal and external recognition where I no longer have to use people, places or things to make myself feel good. Like that, they're the simple joys of life for me and the many gifts that I've been able to receive just through sticking through discomfort. So
super hard. And do you reckon that's why you're so good at colour?
Colour
so
is
bright
an expression. Yes. And my first 5 years of recovery, I only wore black. And then the next 5 years, it was like you could see the expansion. Like if you look back at photos of who I was and even my life, like I look like a different person every single year. And I really think it's because I'm becoming more and more authentic to who I am. And I love colour.
Yes.
Colour was the first thing I was ever good at in my whole life, and I wasn't good at much. Like, I was told I wasn't good enough. I felt not good enough. So colour was that first thing that I really identified with that made me feel good.
Yep.
So now I've found a way with colour, colouring people's hair, not just, the best balayage they've ever had, but vivid colour.
Yep.
Like, it's an expression, it's a conversation. You're 9 times out of 10 going to have more conversations at the coffee shop because someone's commenting on your hair.
Yep.
Like, it's a statement.
It is.
And I think even Mama West, like, we are a very bold, bright coloured salon, and I don't know any salon in the world that looks like ours. Like, we are authentic. We are unique. It is an explosion of me, and you know it. Once you get to know me, you're like, okay, your salon absolutely represents who you are. So you attract all the right people and start connecting with the right people.
Yep. And that naturally attracts all the good sorts. Yeah.
Yes.
And then you add on top of that your fluoro pink velour tracksuits.
Oh yeah.
Which, you're very happy to parade about in.
Yes.
So it is a very, again, it's a very welcoming vibe in there. It's a great space. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing how you're going to go with the Fame. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
With that.
Maybe it'll be another phone call, like, remember that
you're
one?
You're going to call me up and say...
Be like...
Yeah.
Like the Maribyrnong City Council where I was like, which one?
Yeah. And then, well, is there a bigger one? Then I'll just point at that.
Wow.
And I'll say... I'll just look one up and I'll say, what about this one?
Yeah, you'll be like...
That's bigger. Just go for that.
Well, I guess the bigger one would be, I really love to learn and I love to grow. And I think through my recovery, I've learnt the power of mentorship.
Yeah.
And it takes a certain vulnerability because you're prepared to say, I'm willing to learn. I'm not the best. Like, I want to learn and I want to grow. But past this, I guess some of the people that have entered Fame Team have gone on to win, State Hairdresser of the Year, Hairdresser of Australia. Like, that's kind of like where this leads to.
Yep.
And I mean, regardless of whether I get in or not, like, I'm still going to keep trying. I'm still going to keep going and I'm going to keep growing. And, that's just, I think that's what I want. I think that's what I'm really starting to understand, that's what I want and that's where I want to go, because it's the pushing myself outside my comfort zone and really understanding and learning my craft and loving my craft. Like, I love hairdressing and it was the thing that gave me passion and it was the thing that gave me purpose. And if you're going to be clean and sober, you need to find something and you've got to put everything into it. And I can honestly say 16 years, I'm still at the salon on my days off learning how to cut hair.
Yep.
This morning I was looking up hair up tutorials. Like, that's what I do. Yep. How lucky am I that I've found something that I love more than drugs and alcohol?
Yeah.
True. And it's about making people feel good.
I mean, a catchword at the moment, a buzzword is spectrum. Everyone is on every spectrum. And it's a beautiful time for people who have always been considered a little different because finally we're starting to just accept different brains.
Yeah.
They're just different brains. I think our language, even in the next couple of years, is going to change around, because we're talking about, there's a labelling of people in certain parts of the spectrum, but ultimately everyone is on it.
Yeah.
Everyone needs purpose.
Yeah.
Everyone needs something to do and a reason to be.
Yeah.
So they're not like, it's just more extreme for some people.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think there's a lot of stigma attached to being an addict and even being an addict in recovery.
Yeah.
But we are the people that are out there changing the odds. Like, why? Yep. Why should stigma still be attached to someone like me when I'm out there in the world trudging through the mud and doing some amazing things on the end of it? Like, I just think, who if someone was to turn up their nose at me for my story, I'd just tell them to get fucked. I think I would. Like, whereas in the beginning, in that first 5 years, I was so ashamed.
Yep.
I was so ashamed of myself and who I was and what I'd done and some of my actions even growing up and, cheating on ex-boyfriends and really creating harm. But that was the behavior that was modeled to me. Like, that's what I was bear witnessing to. And I had no inhibitions. I had nothing. Like, I just felt... Yeah. I felt nothing. Like I didn't, but then when I got clean, all of this shame came up.
Yep.
So to tell people who I was, like it felt disgusting.
Took some time to.
It did.
Yeah.
But then I've learned it's like, this is who I am. This is my story. If I can share my story and hopefully inspire someone else to do the same. And I know people tell me every day, you inspired me to do this. I get it all the time. And I just think that's why we need to share with each other who we are. And that's why I'm so happy there's podcasts like this out in the world that are sharing the good news about good people doing good work out in the world, because it's not easy, but it's when you get these little moments of recognition and reflection, like it just feels that little bit better. Being who I am and being through what I've been through, it gives me purpose. It's like everything that happened, all the hardship that I've gone through, and let me tell you, I've gone through some stuff.
Yep.
It makes it all worth it.
Yep.
It's like I have no regrets.
Yeah.
Because it's got me to where I am today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have to say that I wanted you to come on and talk to us because we are inspired by you, and we have been. Well, since I met you. And we've always got along pretty well. And I guess
we have.
Ultimately, I guess, birds of a feather. And so I guess it is inspiring. And I really hope that we can use this message to tell people, look, hey, you've been through some tough stuff. Wherever on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Fingernail biting.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same stuff. At the end of the day, for me, I say, well, I hope we can inspire others to know that they have the ability to change.
Yes.
And it's not going to be easy.
It isn't easy.
Maybe
but
it
is worth it.
Maybe it will be, and it will be worth it. It'll 100% be worth it.
Yeah, because how much are you more willing to listen to someone that's gone through hardship? Like, you kind of think, oh, well, if she can do it, if she can get through what she got through, then maybe, just maybe. It's like there's almost a trust or an understanding.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, it's possible.
Yeah.
And
that's all, well, that has helped a lot of people in history, even going back to the 4-minute mile. It was supposedly an unbreakable race, an unbreakable mark to do the 4-minute mile. Once it was broken many times in a very short space of time. So it's all mindset. It's all believing and just they say when you've done as much as you can do, when you think you've done as much as you can do, you've done about 40%. So I've run as far as I can go. Well, you've only run 40% as far as you can go. So there's it's a lot of mind tricks, a lot of mind games. Very inspirational chatting to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
I've enjoyed talking to you. We were worried that this could possibly go on for a few hours, full Joe Rogan style, but I think we've managed to contain it fairly well.
Yeah, agreed.
I've really appreciated having you on the show.
My pleasure.
And we'll have to get you back another time because I want to hear about how you go with the fame. With the Fame Squad.
Oh, gosh. It's so good having something like that, though. It's like it really does push you to want to be better. Like, it gives me this anxiety, / excitement, and I really have to learn how to sit with it.
Yeah.
And, it's crazy what happens when you put yourself in situations to grow and get a bit uncomfortable. Like, it's every single day I'm thinking about it and, in anticipation. And it's just, put yourself out there, people.
Put yourself out there.
So great.
Get out there.
Yeah.
Sheridan Rose Shaw.
Yeah.
Can we use that one?
I love it. Put yourself out there. Yeah. Just do it.
Just do it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This is the Good People podcast and Sheridan Rose Shaw from Mama West. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's a tip of the cap, it's a pat on the back, it's a smile from ear to ear. They're the good people from round here. They're the good people from round here. Come on, let me introduce you to a few.